Hey robot makers, hope you're having a good day so far. So do you want to learn how to build your own private ChatGPT server that completely runs locally and is secure using a Raspberry Pi 5 or possibly a Raspberry Pi 4? Then this is the show for you. So let's dive straight in. My name's Kevin. Come with me as we build robots, bring them to life with code and have a whole load of fun along the way. Okay, let's get over to our slides and then we'll get straight into the demo like we have done the past 3 weeks. That seems to have gone down really well. So today's session is all about something called Ollama. It's a private offline AI like ChatGPT clone, but it's far better because it's free and it's something that you can run without sending any data to the cloud. We're going to show you how to set up Ollama and WebUI, which is the bit that makes it look just like ChatGPT, on a Raspberry Pi 5 using Docker. This can't be simpler. I've actually created a Docker tutorial, a little course on kevsrobots.com. So if you go there, go to the free courses, you'll find that. Just in case you haven't got Docker installed, it's a piece of cake, honestly. We're going to have a bit of, obviously, we're going to have lots of demos today. We're going to look through Ollama. We're going to have a play with that quite a bit. We're going to look at LangChain, which is something we can use basically Ollama in our Python programs. We're going to build a really simple program using that, and we're going to have a demo of that obviously working. And if you're here for the live stream, obviously you can hang out. We're going to have a bit of a Q&A, bit of a chat, and I'll show you some cool things I've got recently in the mailbox. Quite a few new robots that I can't wait to show you as well. Okay, so the other thing I can't let today go by without mentioning it is we've just passed the 25,000 subscriber mark on our channel. So thank you everybody that's joined me so far. And if you've not subscribed already, then you're missing out. You're not getting the notifications when new stuff comes out. And also a few bits and pieces behind the scenes as well that I provide to people who are members. So what is Ollama? So this is a large language model. That's why it's got the LLM in the name. They came up with this kind of silly name for it, Ollama, but it's a really cool product. So it's an offline private AI similar to ChatGPT. So you can chat away, you can type things in, you can send code or pictures or documents, all kinds of stuff, and it can interact with that. It runs locally on your computer, so you could actually run it on a Mac, Windows, or Linux computer. We're going to be using a Raspberry Pi 5 because why not? It does not require an internet connection, so there's no data being sent up to the cloud. You simply download the pre-trained model and then you just use that model. It ensures that you've got user privacy and security because obviously you're not sharing anything else with anyone. And there's this Web UI component to it. So instead of just being Ollama, which is kind of like a API and command line, the Web UI makes it look just like ChatGPT. So user-friendly interface for interacting with Ollama, provides this graphical interface, easy to use, customizable, so you can configure it however you want. You can use all different types of model as well. We'll look at that. And it simplifies the process of sending queries and receiving those responses. And like I said, it is just like ChatGPT, but slightly better because it's free. So why would you possibly want to use this? So as we've touched on there, privacy and security. So if this matters to you, all your data is processed locally, ensuring confidentiality. So you're not sending or sharing any data with anyone. It's just running on your local machine. So there's no risk of that data being shared with third parties, analyzed, all that kind of stuff. It's your data, you keep it. So accessibility, reliability. So you can access all these functions without the internet. So you don't need to be connected. This could be running, on a solar farm or whatever. It doesn't require any kind of internet connectivity whatsoever. No dependencies on external servers. So it just means it runs locally. And the fact we can run it on a Raspberry Pi 5 means it can run in a really small form factor as well. Now you can customize this very heavily. So one of the great things with Ollama and LangChain is that you can just configure every layer of the AI that you could possibly conceive of. So you've got full control over that. You're not being forced to use a particular type of model. You can use whichever one you like. And you can even tailor the AI to your specific needs. So if there's a type of AI that you particularly want to use, so say you're doing lots of coding, there's coding specific language models. If you're doing something where you interact with the images quite a bit, there's models specific to that kind of analysis as well. So you can pick the perfect model for your usage. And cost efficiency wise, well, there's no ongoing subscription fees. There's no come back later, we're busy. It works whenever you want it to work. And obviously reduced internet bandwidth. Once you've downloaded those models, and you don't have to download those via the internet, you could sideload those by USB or whatever. You don't need to have any kind of bandwidth being used there and being charged for that either. So lots of reasons to use this. So let's have a look at it straight away, shall we? Right, so I'm just going to get over to my computer over here. I'm just going to load up, let me just grab a little terminal. and I'm just going to share my screen now so you can see this. So on the left hand side, I've just got a terminal. This is already logged into one of my Raspberry Pis. So I've got 4 of them, dev 1 to 4. And I've already installed Ollama on this one. And I'm going to show you how to install that later. But I just wanted to show you just how easy it is to use. On the right hand side, this is another terminal to the same Raspberry Pi. And it's running HTOP, which is just like a little processor. It's a bit like Task Manager. Shows you what's running and kind of what the current CPU load is. And you'll just see something interesting happen on there when we start to run this. So let's get over here and then, I've already installed it. I'll show you how to do this in a minute. So if we do Ollama run and then dolphin-phi, was it phi? I think it's phi, isn't it? So dolphin-phi. And what that's going to do is, this is a model that I've already chosen and downloaded. I'll show you how to do this shortly. And now it's just asking for a prompt. So we could say, tell me a joke. This seems to be a popular one to hello world kind of thing of AIs. So it's having a bit of a think about that. And then pretty quickly, it comes back with a response. So why don't scientists trust atoms? Because they make up everything. Or it even explains, this is a pun on making things up. So you can get it to tell you all kinds of other things as well. But I just wanted to show you, that's kind of Ollama, the basic core. It's actually pulling a REST API in the background. This is just like a command line thing. So that's how we very simply interact with that. I'm just going to pull my notes up there. And you can see when I actually do this, if I say, tell me a fact about the Roman Empire, Roman Empire. Let's have a look on the right hand side on this other terminal. You can see all 4 of the cores on the Raspberry Pi 5 are fully maxed out. Now interestingly, you can see where it says mem. That shows the amount of memory that's being used. So out of the 8 gig that's on board, it's only using 3.19 gig. I say only. So it's not using all the memory up. That's down to the size of the model that we're using, which is I think 1.6 or 1. We'll have a look in a minute to see what the size of the model is. But you can see there it's not using all the memory up. It is using all the CPU on all the cores, so there's quite a lot of work going on there. But you can see the speed of it is acceptable. It's kind of about the same kind of speed as ChatGPT 4 return stuff. So yeah, it's more than acceptable, I think, to use that. So let's have a look. So that is the ChatGPT without the web client. So let's have a look what it looks like on the web. So I'm just going to load up a web browser, and I'm going to show you what this looks like. Make sure I get the right one. There we go. So if I head back over to here, so this is the same server, and we could probably even get that CPU usage alongside if you wanted to see that as well. But look at the screen. So on the left hand side here, we've got new chat, model files, prompts, documents, search, new chat, and there's an account down there as well. So when you very first log in, we'll have a look at this when we install it on another machine in a minute. You get to set up an account just like ChatGPT, but there's no cost involved. It's not sending your email address off to some newsletter somewhere. It's just basically just creating an account locally. And then over here we've got Ollama Web UI. That's just the name of the interface. And then dolphin-phi latest 1.5 gig. So there you go. That's the size of the memory required to run this particular model. And it says here, how can I help you today? It's got some ready to go prompts. So you can click on one of those, like tell me a fun fact about the Roman Empire. And what's going to happen now is it's going to just query that REST API in the background of the Ollama client and then come back with the text. And it'll type it out just like you would expect it to on ChatGPT. So there you go. The Roman Empire is known for extensive conquests and architectural accomplishments. But did you know they are also avid patrons of the arts? And there you go, it's carrying on giving us some more facts about that, and it'll run for quite a while. So we can actually just click on the stop button down here if we want it to stop there, just like we would with a regular ChatGPT. But I'm actually going to let this one finish off, because what will happen is it will take the query that you've typed in, and it will rename the chat on the left hand side, just like ChatGPT does, so that you can go back to that one later on. So in a second, you can see there, Roman Trivia Blast, it's called that one. And we've got some buttons down here, so you can go back and edit that query if you wanted to. You can copy it to the clipboard. You can give it a thumbs up to say that you liked that response. I'm not sure what the volume thing there does. And then we've got this little eye information thing. So it gives you some stats, like how many tokens it used, so 4.59 tokens. And tokens are sections of a word is the best way to think of it. So tell me could be one token, a random fun could be another token. So it depends how they've tuned this particular model to respond back. And then we've got things like the evaluation count, the evaluation duration. So what's that, 24 seconds is that? So you can get to see just how fast or slow this actually responds. So it says 35 in total, so it probably is about 35 seconds for it to do that one. And I think we can go to that other one. It's forgotten those stats now, so it's only the current thing that you type in. So over there we've got the actual name of the model. So we'll have a look at how we can change that to default model. So if I bang in the microphone there, so we click on this little cog here, we can go to the models dialog box and we can type in a different model. So we could type in like Mistral. They have these things at the end like 7B. We'll have a look what that means in a bit later on one of the slides, but don't worry about that. And this is where you would type in things like, is it Lava 2, I think, if I type that in. That particular model doesn't exist, so we need to know the names of some of the models, and we'll have a look at that in a minute. But I think on here I have actually got some other models loaded. So I think I have Mistral loaded. So if I just click on that, if I start a new chat, I can click on this drop down and I can pick other models I've already downloaded. So I've got Mistral and I've got Orca. I can see the size of these. This is kind of the size of the model file, but also with that size comes a bit of complexity and the speed at which it can process that thing. So if we go to Mistral, for example, and we go down to the send a message, and let's do tell me a joke. See if it comes with a different joke, or is it the scientist one yet again? And also notice how quickly this responds or not. Does it take a bit longer because it's twice the size of the other model that we used? But with that complexity comes more knowledge and more kind of ability to be specific or more accurate, perhaps. Depends on what the model has been chosen on. So you can see that it's a little bit slower. It's the same joke, which I find fascinating. So why don't scientists trust atoms? Because they make up everything. There we go. And we can see there that one took total time 29 seconds to run. Now, the other cool thing that we can do on here is we can actually run more than one model at the same time. And I've not seen this on ChatGPT, but so we start a new chat, we can click on this add button and we can actually add a few different ones. We can have dolphin-phi, we can have Mistral, and we could have, let's have that third one there, which is Orca, which is 1.8. Now, if we do tell me a dad joke, and let's hit run. So it's probably going to take at least 30 seconds, if not a bit longer, because it's got all three models to run through. So while it's doing that, I'm going to load up this on the left-hand side here. So you can see that we have the CPUs being maxed out and then they dropped back down. So let's go back over here, see what it's thinking about something. And we can see there that it's responded on one of them. And I think that means that, yeah, we go back over there, it's still thinking about it. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to go, you can actually navigate about and go back to these things. Once it's finished processing on all three, then we'll be able to actually go through each one of the responses of each of the models, which is pretty cool. I've not seen that before on ChatGPT or anything like that. So it does take a little bit longer, like I said, because it's got to run each of them. And I think it runs them in serial. So it'll do one request, wait for that to finish, do another request, wait for that to finish, and then do the third request. And once it's done all them, then it will come back with the answers. You can see there it's still maxing out on the CPU because it's having to really crunch through on that one. So while it's doing that, I'm just going to read my notes on the other screen there because I've got quite a few demo things I want to show you on here. So we've looked at the tell me a joke, we've looked at the default model, and we can change that default model. So if I go, while it's doing this, I can go back to the screen there, I can click on do a new chat, and I might decide that I actually want Orca to be the default, so I can click on that, and whenever I do a new chat now, Orca will be the sort of default chat that it uses, or you can change that to, I think, dolphin-phi, with it being the smallest one, is the quickest one as well, and it's pretty good. It's more than good enough. Right, so we've got our responses back. You can see there 3 of 3. So why did the tomato turn red? Because it saw the salad dressing. We click on the next one. You can also see the name of the model that's returned this as well. So why don't scientists trust atoms? Because they make everything up. That was Mistral, and dolphin-phi has also come up with the same one, but in a slightly different format. So that isn't on a new line. So we can see there that Orca has a different response. So we might decide that we want to try some responses using Orca instead for future ones. Right, so I'm going to go back to the slides now. We're going to have a look at some other bits and pieces on here I want to show you. So one of the cool things you can do, you might think this is cool, you might think this is dangerous or scary. You can run uncensored models. So cloud-based large language models such as ChatGPT, Google Bard, whatever the Bing one is, they are actually censored. So there are certain things that kind of safeguards, say what they call guide rails that they'll put in there. And you can actually choose not to have those on some of the local models. And that might mean that there are some things that you need to consider. So there is a broader range of content. So some sensitive, controversial, or typically censored political content, adult content, ideological content might be blocked. So if you use an uncensored model, you'll get the raw content. So if you want it to ask how to make, explosives or whatever like that, it probably would be able to tell you how to do that. I wouldn't recommend you try that though. Ethical and societal implications. So if you've got concerns about the propagation of harmful content, reinforcement of biases, potential misuse of technology, then you probably want to steer away from uncensored. There's a reason why they censor it, and it's because some of these models, the text corpus that they're pulling all this from, particularly if it's like older content, they might not have the sort of model view of the world, so therefore they might have things in there that racist or just bad ideas, eugenics, things like that. Responsibility and governance. So users and developers need to be aware of the potential impacts and misuse of the outputs and need to be implement additional layers for oversight and ethical guidelines. So if you're going to use this, just use it sensibly. But the fact that you can use it, I think, is something that you don't get with other large language models. So to run this, I would say best is to have a Raspberry Pi 5 with 8 gig. You've seen the models that we've run so far. They've used up to 3.9 was it gig of RAM, so you need a bit more headroom for the operating system and anything else that's running on your Raspberry Pi. You can get away with running it on a 4 gig, and we'll actually have a play with running on a Raspberry Pi 4 just to see how that performs as well. So it will run on a Raspberry Pi 4. It is a bit slower, and that might be a deal breaker depending on what your expectations are. And I've created a simple Docker file that means it's really, really easy to install, and we'll actually have a look at how to do that as well in a second. So how do you choose the model that you're going to use? So here are quite a few of the models straight off the bat. These are some of the ones that Ollama lists on their GitHub. So dolphin-phi, we've looked at that. That's 2.7b. So the B means billion parameters. These are kind of like knobs and wheels and levers and things that you can configure or that the training model will configure. The more parameters, the more richer the information that's in there, the slower it will be and the larger it will be. So you can see there, by comparison, ChatGPT 3 is 175 billion parameters, so it's quite a lot. So our dolphin-phi at 2.7, it's kind of, an order of magnitude or so smaller than ChatGPT. Still quite fast though, as we saw there. Then we've got Phi 2, which is 1.7 gig. We've got Orca Mini, 1.9 gig. That's got 3 billion parameters. Llama 2 is one of the common ones to use. So that's generally accepted to be, the benchmark. So Llama 2, that's actually developed by Meta, the Facebook company. And that has 7 billion parameters, 3.8 gig. I say it's a little bit slower to run. There is an uncensored version of that if you want. You've got Vicuna, is that 7 billion, Mistral 7 billion, what's that, Neural Chat 7 billion, Starling, Lava 7, Llama 2 13 billion, and there's a Llama 2 70 billion, which is 39 gig. So this is really for running on some pretty hefty horsepower CPU, probably something that's got a GPU in it, in fact, because GPUs can really speed up how these perform. So have a play around with some of the models. If you've got plenty of space on your drive, I'd recommend, if you've got a Raspberry Pi 5, getting the new SSD drives, the internal NVMe drives with a hat, then you can have plenty of storage on there. Okay, let's have a bit of a demo on how to set up Ollama on a computer. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to go over to here, grab another, in fact, if I go over here now, so that's our Dev 2 machine. I'm going to bring up another machine here, which is Dev 3. And I've created a script on here. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to move my screen around a little bit so you can see things a little bit easier. So let's just shrink that down a bit. And let's make this one a little bit larger so that we can see it. Okay, so on here I've got two files. I've got Docker Compose and I have this get Web UI. So let's first of all just have a look in the Docker Compose file. So this is a file that Docker uses to basically build the container that's going to run all this software. So version 3.9 is the version of Docker Compose. There's two services, there's Ollama and there's Ollama-Web UI, which is the nice front end that we've been playing with. So we're going to set up Ollama, which is a container named Ollama. The image is Ollama/Ollama latest, so that will grab the latest version of Ollama off the web. We've set it to always restart, and we've also just mapped a volume in there as well. So this is where the models will actually be stored. So it's just mapping home kev Ollama to the root Ollama inside the container. And then the next thing is the Web UI. So we're going to build that from a local GitHub repository. We're going to download that and it's going to build it from there. It's got a couple of other, it's got a volume on there. It depends on the Ollama REST API. And you can see there the ports it needs to connect to. This is kind of internal working within the container. It needs to connect to port 8080 inside, but it will externally provide that as port 3000. So when we type in the URL, we actually have to type in the IP address of the machine this is running on, and then colon, and then that 3000 to access it. And then it's got little environment variables there. That's just telling it how to access the other container that's the other service that's running the container, and it's got some other bits and pieces in there. So that's the Docker Compose file. Now the other thing I've got on here is there's a file that's called get Web UI. So if we just do cat get Web UI, you can do these steps manually. I've just made it a bit easier. So on here it's going to do a git clone github.com Ollama-Web UI, Ollama-Web UI, and it's just going to call that folder Web UI. So if I do // and then get Web UI, it's basically just going to do that cloning of the Web UI Git repository. We need that to be able to build the container that we need. And then if we simply do docker compose up and then return, it's now going to build that container, build the web user interface, and then launch it ready to go. Now, if you do docker-compose up -d, it'll run it disconnected, meaning that you won't see all the gubbins, all this kind of stuff here, all the terminal commands, and you actually can run it in the background and just kind of carry on with stuff. So you can see there it says it's running on 0008080, but that's inside the container. What we need to do is look at the web, the IP address of this machine, which is 192.168.1.111, and then it's running on port 3000 because that's what we told it in our Docker Compose file. So if I now go over to a web browser, let's get back over here. Let's do 192.168.111-3000, and this is what we met with. So Ollama Web UI is up and running. It's asking us to type in, let's go for my email address. Let's type in a password. Let's type in a password, something like that. Sign in. Sign up. We just need to do, and it just needs my full name. So let's just go for that. Create an account. And there we go. Let's just save that. And now we're running this on Dev03, which is a new Raspberry Pi. So we haven't got any models on here yet. So you can see there, select model, we haven't got any. So we need to click on that little cog. We need to go to models, and we need to type in there something like dolphin-phi. Now I'm mindful I'm streaming over the internet. I don't want to kill my own internet feed here, but if I do dolphin-phi and hit that little download button, it'll start to download that model. And we're basically at the beginning of the tutorial that we started at the beginning of this stream. So you can see there just how easy that is to get up and running. It's pretty quick, didn't take too long. I did use I did build this before the show just so that all the files and everything weren't basically stealing my bandwidth. So it might take about 5 minutes perhaps just to do all those steps there. But you saw how easy it was, and it's pretty robust, pretty easy to go. And yeah, you can download as many of those models as you want to, as you've got space for, to give it a try. Okay, so what I'm going to do is going to close that one now, and I'm going to go back to, let me just check my notes here to see if there's anything else I want to cover off on that. I think we're good there. So the actual Docker Compose file and that get Web UI, I'll put that in a Git repository and I'll put it in the show notes in the description below, so you'll be able to find that. I'll also write up a blog article about this after the show's finished. But let's get back to our slides. There's another thing I want to show you, which is LangChain. But before we do that, if you like this content and you want to help me grow my channel to the next milestone, 50,000 subscribers, then please make sure you give this video a like. Drop me a comment, let me know if you've used Ollama or any other web interface to something like Ollama. And if you've not already subscribed, you know what to do. Hopefully you'll help me get to the next big milestone. I do go live every single Sunday at 7 o'clock GMT, so you can join me live on the stream as well if you want to, and we'll have a bit of a hangout after the main part of the show. Right, so we talked about those models. Here they are in a bit more detail. So you can see that Llama 2 is the de facto one, and this one is developed, I think, by Meta. So Facebook have developed this one. I know that they've kind of pivoted away from all that VR stuff that they were really heavily invested in, and they're now looking at AI. So that's probably where a lot of their money is being spent at the moment. So it'll be interesting to see what happens there. So there's a question there about what operating system am I using for Raspberry Pi 5. So Raspberry Pi 5, I'm running the Raspberry Pi OS, which is just the Debian, I think it is, behind the scenes. But yeah, that's what I'm actually running on there. So just to answer that. So yes, I also recommend that dolphin-phi. I think that's a really good general all-rounder. It's really small, so it runs really quickly. If you're not really happy with the kind of answers that are coming back from that, then you can use a much more sophisticated model. And on those little tutorials I did there, those demos, I didn't really get into some of the really beefy stuff you can do, which is like code generation, just like ChatGPT. You can get it to summarize documents and stuff like that. There's a lot there. I know at the moment the Web UI is in alpha or early beta, so there's a lot of functionality that's not quite working properly. So you should be able to just drag and drop a document into there. It then tokenizes that, and then you can then chat with your documents. You can basically drop in hundreds of documents. It'll tokenize all of them, and then you can use them to query information that's within them, particularly like heavy Excel sheets or whatever. It can help you find insights within that. Some other things worth noting on here is that some of these models are tuned for images, so you can do you can chat with your images. You can say what's in this particular image. You know, give me a description of what you can see in the image. So some of them, like the is it Mixtral, I think, is a good one for that. So yeah, that's worth noting. Let's have a see what else we have on here. So Orca Mini, I also like that one as well. That's quite a lightweight and fast one as well. So certainly give them a go. You can see there the download command. You can basically go back to this video, pause if you want. But you can see there, you type in Ollama run and then the model if you're running the command line. Otherwise, you click on the little cog, go to models, and just type in the name of the model on the left-hand side of the column there, like Orca Mini, whatever it is, Orca-Mini. Cool. Let's go to our next slide and see what else we've got on here. So LangChain, yes. So LangChain is how you basically use Ollama with your programs, and it's perfect for Python, and they also support JavaScript as well, which is pretty cool. So they've got this nice diagram I've kind of replicated here that kind of shows you all the different components of LangChain. So in the middle we have the LangChain cognitive architecture. This they've got some really fancy words for this, but this is essentially how you put together a large language model, and therefore how you can tweak each one of these different bits and pieces. So beneath LangChain, which is a kind of wrapper around all this, we have the LangChain-community. We've got all the models in there, things like the Ollama ones we've been playing with, dolphin-phi and so on. The prompts, we can get it to respond as a particular type of personality, so you can get it to a bit like you can do in ChatGPT. So all that prompt engineering, you can customize the prompts there. The example selector, so where you provide like an example of what the output is you're looking for, you can build that in there. And then the output parser, how it actually interprets its own responses and then provides it back to you. So there's quite a lot of different steps there. They've got like retrieval, so the document loader. The vector store is how it stores those document tokens. So if it takes like a big Word document, it actually breaks that apart into tokens, and then it stores those tokens in the vector store. Very fancy name. And then text splitter, I assume that does what you would expect it to do. It splits up text. And the embedding model, embedding is how it gets the knowledge from those tokens, and it's just the order that they're in it essentially. And then you've got the agent tooling, the tools and the toolkits that go along with this to help you do those things. Then you've got the protocol, so the LangChain expression language is this, what do they call it, a parallelization, fallbacks, tracing, bench batching, streaming, asynchronous, and composition. So this is just all the different parts that make up this stuff behind the scenes. So you don't have to worry about that too much if you don't want to. But if you want to dive into it and configure all this stuff, you know, have at it. So I'm going to show you how to write a program using LangChain and Python because it couldn't be simpler. And it's really nice just thinking about what we could do with our Python AI that we've been developing on the stream. We can now add to this some really nice language stuff. So let's have a bit of a demo on this. I'm going to go back over. Let me bring up. Let's have a see where I want to look at this one. So I'm just gonna stop that container that we had over there, and let me just see where I had it running. I think if I just quit on this one as well. So /by is how you get out of that particular interface. Let me just shrink that one down, move that over here, and then let's just move this one. So the LangChain, I've just got a very simple Python program, so I just want to zoom in on that so you can see it. Okay, oops. If I do lso demo.py, so let's have a look at this. So if I do cat demo.py, you'll see just how simple this program is. So we've said from LangChain community.llms import Ollama. So our friend Ollama. We're then going to load in the model Llama 2, which is the one that Meta have developed. Then we'll do a printf, and then initializing a large language model, and then the model's name. So these little curly braces just print out Llama 2. And then LLM equals Ollama model. So this LLM will now become the object that we talk to. So the first thing I'm going to say is tell me a joke. The hello world of AI. We're then going to say printf asking a question, and the question is tell me a joke. And then the response, we're going to store the response that we get back from invoking this on our large language model. So we're going to just invoke that question, which is tell me a joke. And then we're going to say print the response is, and then just print out what that response is. So that's what we're going to do, and then I'll show you how to set this up because it's pretty simple to do. So if I now do Python 3, and then I do demo.py, so it's going to say asking the question to tell the joke. So what it's going to do in the background, we're on 100 again. So if we look at this, we might see those CPUs jump up as it's starting to process that properly. So it's interesting that it doesn't do that right away. I guess that's kind of unpacking the model and doing whatever it needs to do. You can now see that it's going 100% CPU. So it's really crunching through that and giving us the answer. And then we'll see the response that comes back. So because this isn't a stream, we will just get the answer back all in one go. You can do a different one where you basically just say, give me the tokens as they come through, and you'll see it do that kind of chat, typing it out kind of response, rather than it just being all in one go. You'll know when it's responded because you'll see the output, and you'll also see this 100% drop right down to 0 again. There we go. So once again, it's that same joke. Why don't scientists trust atoms? Because they make up everything. And it also says, I hope you found this amusing. Do you want to hear another one? So that's slightly different, and that's probably to do with the LangChain and the kind of wrappers that they have around with the responses and so on. We saw how simple the code is for that. Couldn't be simpler. So the way that I've got this to work, if I do pip, before we do that, if I just come out of this environment, so deactivate, let's just clear the screen. So the first thing I did when I was building this out, I did Python 3 -m venv. This will create a virtual environment. So I've actually done this already. So it may or may not work because that already exists. But there you go, it's created it. And then you have to type in source to activate that virtual environment. Virtual environments are there to sort of separate out all your Python code from each other, all the dependencies and so on. And then I did pip install LangChain. LangChain, I think, like so. And that basically just grabs all the dependencies that it needs, installs everything that it needs to. I think I also did community like that. You can see it's already downloaded those. And so if we now do pip freeze, you can be able to see what's actually installed. So it's installed all these different dependencies just by doing that pip install LangChain. And if we now do that Python 3 demo again, you can see there it's doing everything it needs to do to get that response back. Probably the exact same response again. And again, that's down to the complexity of the model and the fact that it's not learned anything from running that the first time. So if we keep this running all the time, it's unlikely to respond with the same response because it knows it's already responding with that. But there we go. So yeah, how easy is that to bring Ollama ChatGPT locally on your Raspberry Pi using Python? Couldn't be simpler than that. Love it. And there's so much technology stacked on top of each other, but they've made it really easy to get at these. So there you go. So interesting, it says there, I hope you found this interesting, amusing. If you're interested, I can definitely share more jokes or engage in some funny banter with you. Just let me know what you'd like to chat about. So there we go. Okay, let me just check my notes to see if there's anything else I wanted to show you. So there's one more thing I wanted to show you on here. So if I just go back to me for a second and I just grab a web browser. Okay, just share that with you. If I go to Ollama.ai, you can see here they've got the blog, Discord, GitHub, models, and they've got this download button. So if you click on the download, you get these three options: macOS, Linux, and Windows. And the Linux one, you simply just copy that command there. So it's going to curl a shell script, this install shell script. I mean, we could actually grab that and see what that actually looks like. And that pipe just means once you've grabbed that, then run it. That's what that SH there means. But if we paste that into our browser there, you can actually see what it actually does if you were really interested. It's quite a robust script because it can run on lots of different versions of Linux, but essentially it's very straightforward to install using that. So just copy that, paste that into a terminal, and you've got Ollama installed. The then thing you need to do is just run a model, and that if it hasn't got it cached, it will then download it. So could not be simpler. If you look on their blog, you'll see they've got, let's have a look on here, how to run it locally. They've got some examples. There's an interface that doesn't quite look as nice as the Web UI that we've been running. And there you go, Ollama run code llama 7B, which is the 7 billion parameter version. It says they need 16 gigs of RAM for the 13 billion version, and for the 34 billion you need 32 gigs of RAM as well. So you can specify which size of parameter you want to use with that. I'm not sure why they picked 7, 13 and 34. They're not quite round numbers, are they? But there we go. Cool, so I just wanted to share that with you. I think that's everything there. So let's get back to our slides. Cool. So if you want to get started today learning things like how to set up Docker, how to build Python programs, then you can head over to kevsrobots.com/learn/, or just click on that free courses button that you can see there on the navigation, and that'll take you straight to all the courses that are freely available to you, so you can get up and running right away. So check that out if you haven't already. I know quite a lot of people have done. I've been looking through all the logs recently, and yeah, the website is really getting quite a lot of traction now. If you want to get yourself one of these hats, these Robot Maker hats, I do have other coloured ones as well. Let's grab my red one. I like the red colour, but I think in the US red hats have got a different meaning, haven't they? So I've started to wear my black one. There we go. So you can buy that. You can get mugs, all kinds of good stuff on there. That's kevsrobots.com/merch. And if you've not joined our Discord community, you can head over to kevsrobots.com/discord to get yourself a sign-up link completely for free, and you can join our Discord community on there and get help with any kind of questions. Or if I've written so much code on this channel so far, I don't necessarily know the answer to everything if there is an issue, but there's certainly people in the chat smarter than me who can help out with that. So help yourself over there. And if you want to follow me on social media, then you can do that a number of different ways. So you can go to Threads. I'm at Kevin McAleer at threads.net. I think I use that one more than Instagram or Twitter at the moment. I'm on TikTok, Kevin McAleer 6. I'm on Instagram at Kevin McAleer. I'm on X at KevsMac. I'm also on Mastodon at KevsMac at Mastodon Social, and Blue Sky KevsMac at BSky Social. So be sure to check that out. Okay, so there's a question there about how you join Discord. So if you just go to kevsrobots.com/discord, there should be a sign up link for that. If I just show you that, actually, I go back to here. If you go to kevsrobots.com/discord, it should take you to the sign up link. If that doesn't work, I'll look into why that will be, but that should work. Let's try Discord / yeah, if that's not working, I'll have a look at why that is. That's probably just a glitch on my part when I've updated the website recently. I'll have a look at that one and I will get back to you with why that isn't working. If you want to follow me or if you want to help support the show, there's a number of different ways you can do that. So you can get your name in the end credits, which we'll share in a second. So if you go to kevrobots.com/coffee, you can get your name in those end credits. If you're watching this live now, you can do a super chat, which is I make sure that's switched on from now on. There we go. That'll pop up on screen saying that you've done a super chat. And you can also do a super thanks if you're watching this on replay, which is just like a way of saying thank you for the video. And it's like the price of a coffee, I think. If you want to do that more regularly, you can join the YouTube membership program, which is the price of a coffee per month, just to support the channel. It means I can buy more things for the channel, robots and components and whatnot, because it's an expensive thing to do. Okay, so my supporters, this is the point where I give everybody a shout out for joining the channel. So we've had quite a few people buy coffees recently. So we've had Steve Robinson, there's somebody wanting to remain nameless. We've got Mary Louise Mayer. And then on the membership side on Buy Me a Coffee, we've got Alvaro Diaz, we've got Mary Louise Mayer, we've got Jeff Johnson, Dean Corty, Marlene Brent, Tom Shemmy and Steve Phillips. And then we've had quite a few new members join the YouTube channel. So we've got Warren Steele, Stephen Cross, John Lamrou, is that? Lamrou? Sorry if I've pronounced that wrong. Lamrou, I think it is. Jonathan R. We've got Vince. We've got Alistair Ware, John Paul Jolly, Cassie. We've got Dale from Hybrid Robotics, Tinkering Rocks, JDM, Johnny Bates, Orkrad39, Hans from Chairlights, Michael, and of course we have Tom as well. So if you want to get your name in these credits, you can go to kezrobots.com/credits to get information on how to do that. Great. So hopefully YouTube will now be showing you on this side a video that you might find interesting that's related to this particular topic as well that you should click on. And this is the point in the video. If you're watching this on replay, I'll say thank you so much for watching and I shall see you next time.